G'day everyone. Welcome to the show where we talk about opportunities and challenges of working remotely. My name is Diat, founder of Remote Office, and today we're going to talk about one of the biggest challenges remote people face, and that is productivity threats. As more and more companies adopt to remote working structures and principles, it is becoming increasingly important for individuals to be able to stay productive while working from home or a remote location. However, this can be easier said than done. Without the structure and traditional office environment, remote workers may find themselves struggling to stay focused, motivated, and on task. In this episode, we're going to be talking about some of the most common productivity threats remote people face, and we're going to be talking about strategies for overcoming them. Whether you're a seasoned remote worker or you're just starting out, this episode is for you. The first productivity threat that I have in my list today is distractions, period. According to a study by Rescue Time, a productivity tracking software, remote workers spend an average of 2.6 hours a day on distracting activities like social media and text messaging. Now, if you're wondering why your to-do list is not getting any shorter, it's probably the right time to log out of Instagram. Unless your job is to scroll through the Instagram feed. And in that case, congratulations, you won the remote work lottery. To combat distractions, it is important to create a dedicated workspace that is free from distractions. Now, this may mean setting up a home office or simply find a corner of your home where you can work without interruptions. It's also important to establish boundaries with your family or roommates, and quite simply let them know when you're working and when you need to be left alone. The second productivity threat remote workers face is isolation. According to a study conducted by Buffer, a social media management platform, 20% of remote workers reported feeling lonely because of working remotely. Now, if you've already started to feel like Tom Hanks from Castaway, it's probably the right time for you to reach out to your colleagues. Just don't start talking to the volleyball yet. Your co-workers may start to worry about you. To combat isolation, it's important to make an effort to be connected with your colleagues and your community. This may mean scheduling regular meetings with your team, joining different forums or groups related to your industry, or maybe scheduling regular check-ins with your friends and family. If you're a part of a team that follows any form of agile disciplines, joining daily stand-up meetings can be extremely useful. The third productivity threat remote workers face is overwork. You may have seen a lot of YouTube videos already about this. According to a study conducted by Trello, a project management software, remote workers reported working an average of 1.4 days more per month than their office-bound counterparts. So if you think your laptop is an extension of your body, it's probably a high time to reconsider. If you run out of your ideas how to better utilize your time, maybe you can go creative and try to type with your toes. It must feel really good. To combat overwork, it's important to establish boundaries between your work and the rest of your life. This may mean setting specific hours, or maybe setting a framework which allows you to transition between your work mode and your relaxation mode. It's also important to take breaks during the day, stay hydrated, sometimes give your mind a little breather so you can concentrate on things better when you come back to work. The fourth productivity threat remote people face is technology overload. According to a study conducted by the University of California, Irvine, people who receive frequent interruptions from emails and other messaging tools experience 20% reduction in productivity. So if you are already starting to feel like you're drowning in the sea of notifications, it's probably the high time to unplug. To combat technology overload, it's important that you figure out a discipline to work with your devices. This may mean there's a specific time of the day that you'd be checking your emails and messages, or perhaps you set up a notification configuration that doesn't bother you when you're focused at work. Up next, I have the fifth one, technical difficulty. Technical difficulty can cause frustration and delays, and ultimately impacting productivity. Slow internet connection, software glitches, hardware malfunctions can all lead to decreased productivity. According to a survey conducted by Lenovo, 63% remote workers have experienced technical difficulties, which impacted their productivity. To minimize the impact of technology challenges, it's always important to have a backup plan in play. In particular, it's always a great option to consider to invest in a reliable internet service, since we live in a world that runs mostly on cloud. It's also important to consider a backup hardware option and regularly updating softwares. Some organizations may have IT support teams, and for remote workers, it is a peace of mind to have a place to go for troubleshooting. Next up in my list is poor ergonomics. Working from home often means working for an extended period of time, leading to poor posture and increased risk of injury. A study by the American Chiropractic Association found that over 50% people who work from home report experiencing additional aches, pains, particularly after the start of the pandemic. To combat poor ergonomics, it's important and essential to concentrate on a comfortable and supportive workspace. This can include investing in an ergonomic desk and a chair, maybe a standing desk if possible, and taking regular breaks to stretch and move around. Additionally, it's crucial to adjust the height of your screen to reduce neck and eye strain. The seventh productivity threat I have in my list is lack of structure and accountability. Working remotely without a structure is a bit like you trying to work yourself out in a grocery store without a shopping list. You keep on wandering around aimlessly, forgetting things what you need, and ultimately you feel like you have accomplished nothing. In real life, when this happens to your workplace, you unknowingly procrastinate because you simply don't know how to work on things, who to report, and how to complete. Let's try to figure out how to set things in motion. First of all, the organizational structure has to be extremely clear for the team. Everyone should know who to report and who is accountable for what, or else you start flooding people's calendars and you show up in wrong meeting rooms. And once you do that, you try to make a sense of it and you start pitching ideas that can change the world. Oh, hang on a second. If invading into wrong meeting rooms can give birth to great ideas, you probably should keep on doing it. Good luck. Jokes apart, once the accountability part is clear to the team, it's important to have a system in place that translates tasks, goals, accountabilities with clear due dates and assignees. I will create a full episode on this since the topic itself is quite comprehensive. But as for this episode, to simply state, it's important to apply any method you prefer and be really good at it to run your remote team, be it waterfall or agile. To talk a little about my experience, all the teams that we manage in our organization for our clients or for us, they have outlined backlogs, sprints, retrospectives as a part of their culture. We're so deep into this culture that you can guess by the example that even our HR team runs through a full-scale sprint culture. The last productivity threat I have in my list is not only one of the most important ones, but also one of the most controversial ones. It's multitasking. While multitasking may seem like an effective way to get more things done in less time, it can actually lead to decreased productivity, lower quality of work, and increased stress. A study by Stanford University found that people who multitask are actually less productive than people who focus on one thing at a time. Lack of ability to focus on one thing at a time properly can lead to poor decision making and mistakes, and that can be costly for businesses. According to a report by the Harvard Business Review, multitasking can cost companies 40% of their productive time, and the cherry on the top is it can also lead to poor quality of work for the rest of the 60%. I simply feel like everyone has a limited capacity to focus at a time. Now, if I quantify and say, my maximum neural capacity to focus at a time is 10, and I'm focusing on 5 different things, this means I have to cluster my ability into 5 different pieces. But that also means that I'm being only able to spare 1/5 of my capacity on each occasion. The question is that enough? The answer is subjective. If you're in a junior role where you're mostly attending large stand-ups, this may not matter. But if you're in a managerial role where you're supposed to solve business problems, you're supposed to put values on the table, quite frankly, this is going to come in your way to concentrate on the details. In fact, it will create distance between you, your peers, and your managers. To combat multitasking, try to focus on one thing at a time and minimize distractions. This can include turning off notifications, closing unnecessary tabs or apps, and allocating specific blocks of time for certain tasks. Additionally, taking breaks and practicing mindfulness can help improve focus and reduce stress. Trying to multitask, in my opinion, is like trying to juggle flaming bowling balls in a unicycle. It may seem super impressive, but it's most likely to end in disaster. So put down your bowling balls, hop off the unicycle, and focus on one thing at a time. Your sanity and your productivity will thank you. Like other forms of works, remote work comes across with its unique challenges. And for individuals and companies, it's important that these challenges are recognized and steps are taken to address them. Whether it's establishing the structure and the discipline, or making sure the effective use of the technology, or perhaps avoiding the temptation of multitask. By staying aware of these productivity threats and implementing the strategies to overcome them, remote workers can simply increase their effectivity and satisfaction in their jobs. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Unplugged Chronicles. If you found this episode informative and helpful, please take a moment to like, comment on the video, and subscribe to the channel for more contents like this. Your support helps us continue creating high quality episodes, bringing valuable insights and information. Thank you again for listening. I'll see you in the next one.